Today we're going to talk about some of the new collections that we have put together here that have detailed descriptions of what's in each of the folders. And we're just going to show one here because the plastic will reflect light. But to give you an idea, these are the large binders that we've had for a long time. And this one here says Historic Views of Bloomington, Section 1, because there are so many pictures. I didn't want to put too many in one thing. But inside, and again, you may get reflections, but there are directories of what is in each of these folders, which would help you. Doesn't take long there. There's no more than 4 or 5 together. There are sheets to look through. So you get some idea where to try to go to in the folder here to find some of the different materials. Now, one that I'll be talking about here for a little bit with a few pictures. Historic Views, Bloomington, Section 1, because there are so many of them. And this is only just from a few pictures from a few of the different pages. And I'll talk a little bit about them briefly here. We don't have our pointer that we were trying to find, but do have the yardstick here. And starting, I guess we'll go from left to right here. This is an old view of the location that in more recent years was the Mobil gas station here in Bloomington. Right now it'd be just a sort of kitty corner from us, across the street there, from the Moss Bakery, and that gives you an idea. We do have another view. This one kind of curled a little bit because it's older and with the dryness and so on, but it gives you an idea of just how things used to look back in those days. And going next here, we have what was really our first rock quarry in the village. You would see this general location now if you're going on Highway 35 through towns and are just going to be going past the big park down in the valley. And before you would get over the bridge, there's an intersection with County Highway there. And this is what it looked like in the real old days there with the different devices. And you can kind of see still where the bank got chewed away some, and there's a big dip in there between there and the highway. So it doesn't stand out that much, but you have to be careful if you're driving or walking there. You can see much more easily. This one here, we get to see a view of the top of, we think of more in recent years, Grass Motors location. But this building goes back a long ways. Before this came along, there was the Ford garage there for a while, and there was other stores there in the general area, and then you would have been lots of gas pumps and things like that. But kind of interesting to know that it did have that Bloomington that you can't see a lot of, but on the top of the building. And over here with this one, we see what it's like, one of the big buildings that would show up if you were driving across going to Brooklyn. Now we have just a big tube under the road, but at that time there was a bridge, actual bridge that went over, a road bridge that went over to Brooklyn, and that's on the east side of town. And in this building here, of course, the newspaper was located for a while. There were other offices in there. You don't see everything showing up here because it's just kind of a close-up view of that building. Nowadays, for many, many years, starting in the 1930s, it sort of became a parking lot kind of area in much more in recent years. Over here, we have the original feed mill downtown. there was a fire, which of course took this out, and there's a new building there now, of course, where still a lot of business is done, and Terry Taylor Forrest is in there answering the phone almost continually there with orders that are being made and so on. But there you did see part of the mill that went with it at the time. That did move a little further another direction here and in the back alley, but now that's also gone too. Sometime we'll bring out pictures of what it looked like when it was being demolished at different times there, and different things that were in the buildings. So there's a lot, and we have all kinds of different pictures in the two binders. And second binder, History of Bloomington, section 2 through 5. So there we have so much, we didn't want to put it all in one there, but gives you an idea. And we have always a directory. There will always be a list of what's in there, it's like you could see here in each of the folders. I may show you just quickly some of the other ones here so you have some idea of what's being covered. Here we have Bloomington High School classes. Now it's maybe strange, why are we starting with such an older date, 1943 to 1888? Well, we have a lot of very historic pictures back then, and that's why we want to point that out. And especially when you're looking for older relatives of different generations, this is a place where you maybe be able to find them. We don't have everything in the past there, but we do have a lot of pictures of the different high school groups, rock school, different things like that are mentioned. Another one here, which doesn't have a great number, but does cover some of these different areas here of views of Bagley and B-Town, Glen Haven, North Andover, and Wyalusing. And that was a place that we could kind of group those, and again there would be a directory right inside the cover. Another one that, because it's so interesting, of the history of churches in the area, especially Bloomington here, how things changed. You know, at one time there were 4 churches, now we've been down to 2 for quite a long time here in the village. And so we see Bloomington, Patch Grove, B-Town, and a couple other individual places here, Burton and New Diggings, and it has some of the pictures. Not everything, but it's interesting to see what things were like back then, and what you can find out how they looked, how the buildings changed, how things merged, and everything. Now, one that'll be very popular with all the former athletes, members of different sports and that, the sports photos from 1976 back to 1910. We picked this date here, dates to start with, because that's when we had some of our very famous teams that got to state or took to state, and so we try to point that out, and we do have some pictures and so on from those days. The sad thing is always, and I mentioned to people, with football, too bad that there wasn't there in the beginning in '69 up to the time there of '73 or '74, that there weren't playoffs for football. But we do have the trophies and so on there. We try to do whatever we can with pictures and so on to show what it was like. Just quickly, a few more things here so you just have a little general idea of what there is. Now, you might wonder about this. Well-known people back in their younger ages. Well, a lot of times we're trying to find things about people in the past. Maybe we don't always have everybody's names, but you can see them when they look like when they were younger. like Foster Porter and some of those people show up at a young age there in the group. And we're lucky in some of them where everything is identified in that. But we thought, well, we don't want to throw these away, but let's put them in a spot where they can be found and people can look through, oh, I know who that is, even though it's not mentioned there, the name, that maybe they could figure out who the person was. And the one other folder that we have, of course, this deals with our postcard collection that we'll talk more about again. And that there's a number of pages there of all the ones that we have. And we'll look at that again so you have some idea what to expect there. But I don't want to go on too long here with these, but just to give you an idea, maybe we'll talk more about some individual ones on dates to come. But we're trying to save what we can. That's why they're in the archival plastic sheets and so on, so that they stay safe and stay in good quality. We made enlargements of many of the old pictures and so on, but not of everything, just trying to save, because later things do change chemically. Might turn yellow, a little brown after so many years in that. But I think this gives you an idea here of what's going on. We'll be talking more in some future videos here about what we're doing and things that we're doing here to have everything known about the athletic trophies and things like that too. So we're trying to cover everything as much as we can.